There's a new me coming out, and I just have to live, and I wanna give. I'm completely positive. I think this time around I am gonna do it like you never knew it. Oh, I'll make it through. The time has come for me to break out of the shell. I have to shout that I am coming out. I'm coming out. I want the world to know.
Welcome to the show Never Too Late Ever, where we focus on making the next chapter of your life the very best chapter ever. I am your host, Lorraine Hoving, and I am absolutely 100% thrilled that you are here today. Whether you're out there in the car, whether you're at home, I want you to open your heart, open your ears, and listen, because I'm hoping that you find a gem, a treasure that you can apply to your life today. And today I'm excited to reintroduce you to Renne Jones. Hi, Renée.
Hello, Lorraine.
And Renée was with us last week, so let me tell you a little bit about Renée. She has a master's degree in marriage and family counseling and a clinical residency. She utilizes traditional and contemporary models, as well as relaxation and horse-assisted methods. And that's what I'm going to talk to her about today. Because I mentioned that last week. So if you're waiting, we'll find out about that, to help others win at losing extra weight and other baggage. Baggage, yes, they've dragged with them for decades. I will say that I have dragged my baggage for years and years. And that's why I believe it is never too late for you out there, because I dragged it around for 60 years before I really got the inner help that I needed. And so I want to tell you out there that there's hope for you too. So let's ask Renée about horse-assisted methods. So Renée, welcome. And
thank you.
Let us know what you mean by horse. Well, see, it says contemporary models, as well as relaxation and horse-assisted methods. So relaxation and horse-assisted methods, what does that mean?
Well, relaxation is just getting people relaxed enough so that they feel safe and comfortable. And, you know, we run around so much that we very seldom stop and calm ourselves so that we can check in and see what's actually going on for us. We think we know, but we may not actually know. So that's one type of therapy. The horse-assisted therapy is actually outside in a corral with a horse. You don't ride him, you work with him. And the cool thing is that horses see through our masks. And I read the horse as the horse reads you. And then I ask questions to help you figure out what you need to do from there.
Well, that's pretty amazing. I think horses are so intuitive.
Yes.
Yes. And I know that they're used for therapy for a lot of things. So in that, okay, first of all, when you say a model as well as relaxation, what would be the relaxation methods that you use? Would it be breathing, meditating, that you're suggesting? Because is this all in hope and help for us to lose weight?
It can be. I mean, I use it for that. I also use it for, you know, the marriage and the other issues, the baggage issues.
Yeah.
But yes, very often I just have them sit there for a moment, breathe, because we do that so poorly. Most of the time we breathe out of the top half of our lungs rather than all the way down into our lungs.
So Renée, I noticed that as soon as you say the word, and this is with my last guest too, as soon as you say the word breathe, I always stop and I breathe. And I'm hoping the audience out there is listening to Renée's calm voice. I love your voice, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And breathe, take that deep breath in. So, okay, go on. Some other methods.
So, and in that, I just help them work through their entire body, you know, working down from the top of their heads, down through their neck, across their shoulders,
Mm.
down through their arms.
I'm getting pretty mellow here.
Exactly. You see how it works. Because once they get calm and relaxed, they have an opportunity to really see what's going on for them. And just that relaxation can sometimes get them to connect with something. They go, "Oh, I had this experience." So
Mm.
their own intuition gets a chance to come out and inform them.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's kind of the point.
Right, right, because it's kind of like a mechanism to start that.
Yes.
Uh, because I will mention to you, I'm kind of a wired person. So
Mm-hmm.
when you say breathe and relax so that you can hear your own intuition, oftentimes I myself and maybe others out there are in such a flurry of activity that we're not listening. So, is that a practice you do it first thing in the morning?
I do that after I walk the dog because
Yeah,
the first thing we do is walk the dog. But then that's kind of meditative too, isn't it?
yeah. And then you could probably do it. I have had to do it in my office sometimes when things are a little bit wound up. Then
Mm.
I'll sit and I'll breathe, and that's the thing that makes centers me because I can
Yes.
be a flurry. I'm that type A person. And so that's wonderful. Now, with the horses, what are you looking for? You're saying that you're reading the horse. So, what are you looking for when you're working with a client on that?
Sometimes, I'll be asking the client a question and say they don't really want to say it. It's funny because the horse will nudge them.
Mm.
Or sometimes the horse gets between me and the person, and they're trying to protect the person who doesn't realize that they needed or wanted that protection. They're
Mm.
just different things. I mean, the horse just does something, and you try to figure out, okay. And sometimes I don't know. I have to say, so what do you think about this?
Mm-hmm.
And
That's
they know.
pretty amazing. Yeah.
It is. They are just fascinating creatures because they're such good counselors.
I think it's just amazing because I don't know if there's any other creature quite on. Well, dogs are therapy too, but that's a different kind. This is extreme. That intuitiveness of a horse is like amazing. They can sense things, and I think a dog can too. Uh,
Hmm.
but
But dogs aren't so big.
yeah,
And the
yeah,
size helps because we
that's
tend to pay attention to things that are much bigger than us.
right, right.
It
Because
gives
the
them
dog you're
authority
looking
from the
down.
beginning.
Yeah,
Right.
I like it. Now, how many horses do you have?
I actually don't have horses myself
So then,
because
yeah,
I work at a place not far from my home
okay,
where they have, and I've been going back and forth for a couple of years now, spending time with that particular horse.
okay.
And
Hmm.
then when I have a client who wants to try that, then we just go up the street to.
That's cool. I like it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like. Okay, so the other topic I wanted to hit because you had mentioned keto. So I have many friends that have been on keto, and like
Hmm.
I said, for all of you out there, uh, I recommend that you find what works for you because that's what you're
Hmm.
going to stick with, what works for you. But I've always been a little curious about keto because the other night I had people in for dinner, and they were keto people, and so I loved, I love catering to people, so I looked up recipes that were we had a cheesecake for dessert with stevia in
Hmm.
it. And,
Hmm.
I had all these little things for their special needs.
That's
Uh,
very kind of you.
yeah, and it was fun because then I got to learn a little bit about keto. So tell us a little bit about keto. And is that something that you follow? And what do you think is the most effective diet for people out there? So that's a lot of questions. First of all, what do you know about keto? And is it something you follow?
I do follow keto, and when I had lost my weight, and 2 years later I was still the tired, hungry, cranky. The metabolic test I took told me that I needed more fat in my diet. That my
Okay.
body, my particular chemistry, definitely needed more fat and a lot less sugar. So when I I was already at my goal weight of 119 pounds.
Oh, I
And
love that. I like that goal weight. That's
yeah, perfect for my body, right? Because I'm
yeah,
only 5'3".
yeah. And
Okay.
I'm 5'1 3/4".
Yes. Okay. So I followed the diet that they gave me, which was not actually keto, but it was very low carb, and I lost 2 pounds in a week. I was 52 years old, and I
Hmm.
lost 2 pounds in a week when I was already at my goal weight, and that got my attention.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So then I started exploring, and I found keto, and it took me a while to kind of dial in what my body needed in terms of that. But within a month, I was not moody, and I'd had periods of time. I was never actually depressed, but I had depressive
Hmm.
times,
Hmm.
and that has not been a problem for me in the last 4 years.
Wow.
So that's, again, it works with your chemistry and what
Yeah.
works for your body. So keto is basically a diet, a nutrition plan, a lifestyle where you have very low carb, moderate protein, and very high fat. So I
Mhm.
live on about 70% fat. Um,
Okay. So Renee, tell us, so 70% fat, people are probably going with their eyes like wide open,
yeah,
70% fat,
yeah,
because for the 80s and 90s, or no, actually it was probably the 90s and the early 2000s, it was all about low
right,
fat,
right,
um, which didn't mean that it wasn't low sugar. So,
right.
yeah, yeah. So I kind of eat more of, a balance if I want something like that. But tell us, at 70% fat, what would your diet look like in a day?
Well, can I throw in just a little bit about that no fat fad diet that we did for about.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that came about because someone who did a lot of research and had a very strong personality studied 22 countries right after World War II to find what worked there because, the whole Mediterranean thing.
Hmm.
And then he cherry picked 7 of them that met his expectations of what the diet ought to be like and published his study as the 7 country study. The other people were just as healthy, but they didn't do what he thought they ought to.
Mm.
So that became the fad diet because that only came about after the Senate Select Committee's study on American nutrition.
Right.
And that came out as the food pyramid,
Oh,
which
okay.
led to the low fat diet, which
Hmm.
has worked so very well for all of us, hasn't it?
Yeah, we're all so much slimmer.
So much slimmer. Yes, yes. So that's that's where that came from. But
Uh-huh.
for example, this morning for breakfast, I drink tea rather than coffee.
Okay.
So I had my tea with some.
Although I just want to, with keto, you can have coffee, correct?
Oh
You
yeah, yeah,
just
yeah.
choose
Yeah.
not to.
Most
Okay, got
most
it.
most people do coffee, but
Uh-huh.
I don't like coffee.
Yeah. If you
So
don't like, I adore coffee. So if you,
yes,
but
you can have mine.
I probably do.
So I mix in a tablespoon of medium chain triglyceride, which is MCT oil, which is
Yeah,
a coconut oil product,
yeah.
and then I
Good,
put
good for the
some.
brain, I believe it is. Yeah.
Very good for the brain, absolutely. And
And
that's the
we,
thing is you get rid of that whole brain fog thing.
right, and we all need that help as we age too. Yeah. So I
Yeah,
take that too.
yeah. And then I add in some collagen peptides, which are good for, as we get older, our collagen
Right.
decreases, right? So that I add that in. And then I add in an egg and I blend that all in my blender and drink my tea that way. So that was my breakfast, and it runs around 300 calories.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so it's a good breakfast. And then at lunchtime, very often I'll have a couple of eggs and some bacon
Ooh,
because
bacon.
bacon, and I cook my eggs in butter.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So That gives me a good amount of fat there. And then dinner time, it could be 5 or 6 ounces